This is a show about facing fear, unlocking courage, and taking action.
Courage isn't necessarily a daunting thing.
It's going to give you more purpose. It's going to give you more drive.
It feels like making a courageous decision is going to get you closer to who you aspire to be.
It's knowledge plus faith plus action equals courage.
My mom used to tell me, just try it. Just try it. What's the worst thing that happens? You learn something. Like, just try. Failure was never failure. It was you tried. So as long as your moral compass is in a good place, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And by the way, if you do have friends and family and great people around you, they're going to help steer you right.
Ready to roll, Craig? Dubitsky, right?
Dubitsky. It's like Smith in some parts of the world.
Smith and Walensky, Smith and Dubitsky.
It's like without the meat. Yep.
Okay. Could you imagine if that's the business you would have gone into?
It's like a plant-based. Yeah, maybe I should do that. Just make like a plant-based steakhouse. No one's really, I shouldn't say no one's gone there yet, but plant-based, meats are a thing.
All right. Let my team know that we're starting with that comment. Like, I love where nothing could describe my guest more than the poor hamster on that wheel. I know you sleep, but how many hours of sleep you get a night? Where you at?
Well, it's interesting that we're touching on this because I procured an Apple Watch just so I could see what was going on because I wake up a lot. And I used to, in a prior life, I was a trader and TRADER as opposed to any other spelling you might think of. And I traded commodities and I traded currencies, which don't really sleep. And then I traded on the London Metals Exchange. And I traded London, Sydney, and Singapore. So I didn't sleep for a long time. So I sort of became very accustomed to waking up really early and waking up in the middle of the night and all that kind of stuff. So I got the watch because I was really curious to see what my sleep patterns were. And they're atrocious. And it's nothing. I am definitely not proud of it. It's a bad thing. I know I need much more sleep. So I typically get like a good night is like 6 hours is pretty good. And that's like a good one, but it's not 6 hours of contiguous sleep. It's like, it's a little jagged, but that's okay. I think I find it productive sometimes to wake up in the middle of the night because I have an idea and I keep a device or two next to me and Apple Notes, man. Mwah. It's the greatest thing ever.
That is the end of me. Like, first of all, 6 hours in a row is like world.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
World record stuff here. But I also know it better be. I know me well enough to know if I'm going to pick up that device, the multiplier on that idea in my head is already. We're at 11. Is that how you are
That's
too?
Right. 100%. Like I usually wake up with something fully formed. In my dream state, fully formed, and I write it down, and I go back, and sometimes I'm like, I was definitely a little taxed there. I was a little maybe more tired than even I realized, but more often than not, there's some gem/germ, and you can't spell germ without gem. I'm just making it up as I go here. So there's something in there, and it finds its way into a more alert state. Maybe hours, days, weeks later, and you go, oh yeah, didn't I have that wild thought in the middle of the night? So yeah, I think it's okay. I don't know. If you're creative, I guess you're creative. I don't know. I've never thought of myself as creative. I think you can't label yourself, someone has to come up with that kind of stuff for you. But I don't know. I just don't stop because like when I stop, I think I'll be scared I won't start again. So I just keep going.
Yeah, the use it or lose it gene is very big in my family as well. My exhibit A is my father, who is an 82-year-old lawyer who owns his own firm and still goes to work, who has 2 rules to anyone that's like, what do I need to know to work here? And he's like, rule number 1, come say hello to me when you get in. And rule number 2 is come say goodbye to me when you leave. Other than those 2, you're good to go, which again, tells you a lot about the Berman family. Now, Craig, I got to tell you, I have really been looking forward to this talk. You always try to be prepared, but with some people, the energy out of the gate is it's like, I love this guy. Like I'm almost sad, which is a nice play to say, that you live 3,000 miles away because although that would be a terrifying lunch or coffee, because
It would go. It'd be like a breakfast that went into dinner, I think. And that'd be okay.
Yeah, I'd be like, good morning. Okay, Craig, good night. I mean, or hello, November, right? And so it's been really a joy to get to know you already. You've had an amazing life and just remained, it seems, curious in anything you've done. Although I didn't know that you started as a trader, not a trader, a trader. To walk me through like how you started, why you started or sort of started there, and how did you get from there to where you are now? And I know that's an unfair, like, and just do it really fast too, by the way.
Sure. No, I'm going to do it. I'll do it really fast. In shortest strokes, I've been an arbitrageur my whole life. I just see discrepancies in everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be culture, commodities, currencies, brands, attitudes around products or brands. It just doesn't matter. My favorite quote is still Leonard Cohen. There's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in. I'm always looking for the cracks, or the cracks always find me. And I can't stand if there's a crack that's not letting any light through. And I got to chisel it a little harder and see what can be done. So I graduated from college. I switched my major multiple times. And somehow, it's a whole story for a whole other time. I wound up on the floor of the commodities exchange. And I'm just wired the way I'm wired. And I like to simplify everything. I think people like to, I don't even know if this is a word, so I'm going to have a little fun with this. Because humans do what they do, they complexify things. I don't know if complexification is an actual term. If not, I'm going to see if we can trademark it after we're finished.
I already bought the URL. The URL's mine already.
No, I already have it. I already have .org. So, you might have .com. So we'll have to team up on that. So I think, people like to make things difficult for a whole bunch of reasons. I don't know why. We could speculate, but they do. So I sort of work in reverse. I like to make everything really, really simple. And it's hard to do simple. And I was on the floor of the commodities exchange, and I was a clerk trading or not trading yet, clerking for this exchange that had the dollar index. It was the US dollar futures contract. And it didn't make any sense to me because it was the dollar versus all these other currencies, yen and pounds and Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, krona, like all these different currencies. And it didn't make sense to me that in New York, they were trading this index, but in Chicago, there was a pit that traded all the individual pieces. It was kind of like you could buy a Big Mac in New York. I'm just using this example for speed, pick a number, for like $5. But you could buy all the pieces, 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, pickles, lettuce, onions, sesame seed buns in Chicago, and it might cost like $2. So it was sort of like, well, but Big Macs are $5. But I could buy all the pieces for $2. Even if it cost me $1 to put it together and bring it to New York, there's $2 left over. So I was doing that with currencies, and I met somebody in the marketing department of the exchange, and I was very young, I was 21. And one day I told him about this arbitrage, not even knowing that word. And he called me one day and said, "Hey, I'm with these people in Chicago." And I told him about our arbitrage. If we gave you money, do you think you could execute against it? And I said, I better call my partner Craig on the phone. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Right. Partner. Yeah, of course we could do it. And they gave us what seemed like all the money in the world. This is like 1987, 1988, I guess, maybe. And they gave us, a few $100,000. I'm a kid. I'm like, are you, I probably can't curse, but yeah, I was like, are you totally fucking with me? Are you serious? You're going to give us like how much? And they did. And anyway, the rest is kind of history. I just, again, like see these differences, these opportunities, and they're not all financial. A lot of it is also emotional. So I just sort of can't help myself. And I think a lot of the ability to see things just comes from taking a beat and stepping back a little bit and knowing that there's opportunity everywhere. Like everything could be a little better. Everything.
I love that. I love that everything could be a little better. Also feels like a good t-shirt that's worth, monetizing. But less than that, I just think, your complexify concept. I kind of feel like I know how it happens, but you tell me if this feels real to you. And, you said 1987, so I'm going to go back to my childhood too in the time machine for a minute. And remember OG Batman TV show, Batman? And actually, to be fair, it might be, okay.
Adam West? Come on. Yeah.
So remember when Batman found himself in a pickle, not a Big Mac pickle, but an actual pickle, and like the fog started to come into the room, and it was like, you knew it was poison, it was something. I definitely feel that we complexify our lives as if we allow the poison fog to roll in Batman style. And what once seemed very clear is now fogged up as we add more thoughts or complexities to situations.
It's right out of Austin Powers. If you remember that classic, it's like, oh, it's the artificially complex dipping mechanism that's going to put me in, with the sharks with freaking lasers on their heads. It's like, the same kind of thing.
But it's fear. It's just fear, right? It's just we do it to ourselves, and we, I know you have a big thing on fear, but like fear, right? False evidence appearing real. It's not even. It's in our brain, and it's the thing that's like holding us back from doing the thing we need to do. I've always said you can't be courageous when you're cloudy. Do you see when you're like, oh, I'm just trying to simplify?
Yeah, I think clarity, it's hard to get, because there's so many things vying for our attention, or there's so many things that are taking some of that emotional integrity and degrading it a little bit, right? Because we're subject to so many inputs that make everything suspect. And I think that's an energy zapper or a set of energy zappers. So it feels almost rude and insensitive for me to talk about it, because I know so many people, deal with minutia that takes up a lot of time. And it's easy for me to say, yeah, don't deal with the minutia because, I'm on a podcast talking with a cool dude and I'm petting my nice dog next to me right now. But meanwhile, in the back of my head, I'm sure in the back of your head, there's a bazillion other things that we're fending off from getting in the way. And, I think we're living in complicated times. They've always been complicated. Now they're just that much more visibly complicated because we all have a device and access to a countless number of other things that are telling us we're either doing something wrong or could be doing something better, or showing us some magical way to live that may not really be possible for a lot of people. So it's tricky.
Your ability to focus or compartmentalize or prioritize, like when you think of those three different words, is it all of the above? Is there an order to it for you?
As I pause and think, which is a good thing to do, I think for me, a lot of my focus comes from naivete. And if my bride were here, she'd probably say, it might be because you're like a 14-year-old trapped in the body of a 58-year-old. Because I think it's a willing sort of acceptance of there's too much going on, and I just got to hone in on this one thing. And I'm also older, and I realized maybe about 12 years ago, as someone who was a little bit of I'll just say, not self-proclaimed, but definitely, I will admit to being a combination of dilettante and ADD type, where it's like, look, a chicken. Like everything I saw was interesting and new and different. And it took me a while to realize, okay, the signal to noise ratio is way off. Like everything to me is becoming signal that really is kind of noise. And I'm at an age and stage where I have to stop being excited about everything, and I just have to hone in. And I was like a dog with a bone. I just was like, I got a thing here. And for me, that thing at the time was this brand that I started up called Hello, an oral care brand. And I was like, I can't get excited about anything else. I just have to stay really, really focused on this thing at this time, because everything was so exciting. There's a fund that wants to talk to you. There's a speaking thing. There's another entrepreneur with this amazing idea. Everything was exciting and lovely and fabulous. But I was like, I just have to shut it down, basically. So it was naivete meets fear. Going back to fear, I was like, I'm getting older. I've been around a lot of things that have done, okay for the most part, but this one I just really gotta tune everything else out, and it worked. It was a whole bunch of things that made it work. It wasn't just intense focus. It was really focus on people. That was everything.
One last note on fear, because I forget what you had an awesome little, like, I definitely have, I mean, like, fear and courage are siblings. You can't get to one without the other. I don't think in the last decade, so I'll give myself 10 years. I don't think in the last decade I have surrendered as a FOMO guy. I think I'll joke I'm a FOMF guy now. FOMF is fear of missing fear. Like, Jedi it a little bit. Don't be afraid of it. Figure out a way to live with it and still go through with it anyway. But you have a pretty interesting take on fear as well, yeah?
Yeah. So I was introduced to a fellow, Patrick is his first name, and I don't want to butcher his last name because my memory is slipping and I'm remembering it one way. I want to say Patrick McGinnis, but that could be wrong. Anyway, Patrick, we'll just go with Patrick, who is the person who's noted and credited with having come up with FOMO, the expression FOMO. I think he was in business school, and anyway, they were able to track it back using the worldwide interwebs to his being the first time it had been used and published. And anyway, I had an interview with him years ago, and I'm like, what am I going to talk to this guy about? I have no idea. I just winged it. I showed up and I winged it. And he was talking about FOMO, and I said, well, I don't have FOMO, I have FOMT. And he's like, what's that? I said, fear of not trying. So that became sort of my version. And I think it came very naturally because I was trying to be cute. Acronyms are great and all that. But my mom used to tell me, just try it. Just try it. What's the worst thing that happens? You learn something. She did that with everything from food to sports, like you name it. It didn't matter. Just try. Just try. So I grew up in a household where that notion of just try was really celebrated. Failure was never failure. It was you tried. Yay, you. So yeah, that's sort of how it's been for me with a lot of things. I'm like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? I'm never going to compromise, morality. I'm never going to put anybody in harm's way. I'm never going to jeopardize my friends, my family, people I work with. Like, they're all the same to me in a lot of ways. So I never do that. So as long as your moral compass is, in a good place, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? And by the way, if you do have friends and family and great people around you, they're going to help steer you right. They're going to make sure.
Love that. I love fonts, fear of not trying. And so many of us, no, just because you thought about it in your head does not mean you tried it. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, you got to get it out of your head. And I do think there's steps to that. Like, when I was writing my book, I'm like, how do you do that? I'm not qualified to write it. All the things that your brain tries to do with the Batman fog, right? And I remember putting it on Facebook when I was finally ready. Like, I am writing a book about courage.
That's courageous.
State it and create it, right? Like, state it and create it. And my biggest fear was probably my own, in my own head, my inadequacies to write it. So I'm not qualified to do it. Followed by someone's going to steal my idea.
Oh, I've heard that one in particular so many times, or people would say to me, I can't believe you talked about that idea you had. Like, someone's going to steal it. And I was like, you know what? If they're going to steal it, like, they have to live with that. And a really dear friend of mine, he said the nicest thing to me one day, and I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically it was about not being the bucket. Like, don't be a bucket, be the well. Someone's going to take your idea that maybe it wasn't that good an idea. And if you're so wedded to just that one thing, which again is going to seem counterintuitive because we're just talking about focus. You have to be focused, and you do have to have that one thing for a bit. But if you're so worried someone's going to steal it, you're probably talking to the wrong person, right? And it's hard to steal something if you're in motion. You know what I mean? Like, if you're already doing it. I remember I was talking with somebody at a big company about an idea, and they were like, no, they were just kind of poo-pooing it because the logic was, well, we could just do that. We could just do it. And I made this little comment. I said, it's really interesting. You could just do it. You're a big company. You have all the resources in the world. I thought about going to, to Michael's, the arts and crafts store, and just getting a big canvas, just a big rectangular canvas. And I was just going to get, I was going to go to Home Depot. And I was going to get at Home Depot, I was going to get like a nice muddy sort of brown, a little reddish brown. I was just going to like paint the whole thing like this one color. And then I was going to like stack sort of like two squares on top of each other on this big rectangle. And I thought that'd be really great. Oh, you know what? Rothko did that. That's right. And those, if you can find one, I don't know how many millions or hundreds of millions they sell for, but you know what? I could probably draw a square on a big rectangle, but I didn't do it. Like, and it's the doing, you just gotta do it. So when you say you're gonna have intention to write a book and you do it, that's the magic. Like dreaming of the book is one thing, but the doing is everything.
So it's funny. My first mentor used to say, "You're not in advertising, you're in creative business." And that always stuck with me. Probably like how your mom was like, just try it, just try it, just try it, just try it, just try it. And your brain hears it over and over again. And I wish more business people understood the power of creativity. And you just have to look at a C-suite to realize it's like, this feels off, that 15% of you are responsible for the story and everyone else like chief data officer, CFO, chief technology officer. I'm on an island over here. Help me. Right. And then on the creative side, the term is starving artist for a reason, right? So I wish more creative people understood business, but you've spent this career, this life really, you're not left brain or right brain, you're full brained. You figured out a way to be creative and do it.
Well, thank you. Yes. Creativity as a power or a superpower, a force for good. I mean, I think everyone has the ability to be creative. I think they're not often given the opportunity. And I've said to folks that I work with now, I'm lucky enough to keep working with, I'm like, yeah, you might be a quote unquote finance person, but you know what? You can make that spreadsheet do incredible things and you can make it sing. And by the way, you could put some really funny stuff in there if you want. Like, be creative. No one's telling you can't put cool shit in your spreadsheet. Like, have at it. And I think it's sad to me when I think about what you just said about how many folks sort of don't have an outlet, at least with what they do work-wise. Because I don't even like the word work. It's like, because what's the opposite of work? For some people, it's retirement. For some people, it's broken. It doesn't work, right? Like, I think that's all pretty terrible. And I think you can find creative outlets anywhere, and regardless of whatever it is you're doing. I mean, Kafka wrote Metamorphosis working in the post office, right? So this idea that like, well, I have to pay the bills and I have this gig and it's my role and it's my job and it's my function and all that stuff, it's getting in the way. I've got, bills to pay. Everyone's got bills to pay. Everyone's, got demands. But I think somewhere you have to find a way to express yourself. You just have to. Otherwise, you're not living, you're existing. I feel really like I'm on some moral high horse here. I don't mean to be. But yeah, you can find creativity in anything. And I do think it's the magic. I'm really lucky. I got to meet, sometimes you've heard this expression like, oh, be careful, don't meet your heroes. And I've had the very good fortune to meet some heroes of mine, people I worshiped from afar, and never in a countless number of years would I ever have imagined I would ever be able to meet. And one of those folks years ago was this fellow named Chris Bangle, who had been the global head of design for BMW, Mini, and Rolls-Royce. And he was one of the first people in the corporate world, globally, to bring design into the boardroom. And that was a new thing. I mean, Apple, absolutely, at least further generations down the line of Apple. And BMW is one of them. And under his watch, BMW overtook Mercedes for the first time in either company's history. And design and creativity were the tools that made that happen. Being able to unleash creativity, unbridled creativity for the win. It's a very important thing in business and in life.
I guess I have to ask, and I want to get to this is where I should have done video out of the gate for those who are listening, because Craig has Happy to be Craig as his little, hi, Ryan Berman. Talk about creativity. Ryan Berman is my what mine says. Yours says happy to be Craig. But in the spirit of like how you got here, I do come back, or how you happened. I do come back to sometimes this, you learn what to do by watching what not to do. And I don't love that, but I acknowledge it's real, and you have spent time in corporate America. I don't want to hate or knock on any past lives you've had. I mean, maybe it's just the opposite, but this sort of stepping back and going, brands, we should be like the best part of people's day. Like there should be smiles and joy and positivity. But I also, I've worked with some companies, not small companies, just like you've come from big companies where like the lead is shareholder return. And it's like, nothing makes me just, it's Monday, shareholder return. I'm 26. No, that doesn't energize me or light me up. This sort of quest you've been on, and by the way, trader to happy, did you learn what to do by watching what not to do, or did you just have that?
I think that, again, I have this sort of naivete about certain things, and I'm the luckiest person ever. I mean, I know people say, lucky people are the most prepared. They work hard. Yeah. It's my wife's birthday today. I'm the luckiest person. My wife is unfriggin' believable. And she told me one day, she's like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this trading stuff? Why are you doing that? And I said, well, I just sort of kind of fell into it. I guess I was pretty good at it, which translated pretty good meant you made money. And she's like, that's on you. Like that's your nonsense. I said, what do you mean? We live in New York City. It's expensive. She's like, that's all on you. She's like, I don't care if we live in New York City. Like, I don't need to live here. I don't need to live this way. All that's a joke. And she kind of opened my eyes. And it turned out most of the people I knew that were following or chasing financial wins were not really winning in the most important ways. And as soon as I sort of stopped thinking about money, believe it or not, more financial success came my way. And the other thing I learned along the way was a lot of folks I knew who had attained some significant wealth in terms of financial wealth were some of the least happy people I'd ever met in my life. And their marriages weren't particularly great, and their kids weren't necessarily on fantastic paths. So I sort of did this other math. It was really more like arithmetic, this idea that more money equaled more happy. It was very clear that was not the case. So once I became sort of free of that constraint, a lot opened up for me, a lot. And I think that's a difficult place for many to get to. I acknowledge that. And it wasn't easy for me to get to at the time because I was brought up to think, success equals a certain thing, and it sounds, again, very Hallmark and trite. So I don't want to sound too bullshit soundbitey about it, but it's true. And once I stopped thinking about that, a lot of other really magical things happened for me. And when thinking about business and brand and team building and this other stuff that I really care so much about, the sort of highest order version of applied mathematics, going back to where we start with simplification, became, okay, here's the easy math. I don't need to solve for the area under the curve. I don't need to know about calculus. Let's make it basic arithmetic. And the more I focused on the creative side, what I affectionately refer to as the magic, the more I focused on the magic, the math all took care of itself. Like, margin is margin. Cost of goods are costs of goods. Like, if you don't have something that has some magic to it, nobody cares. Like, I remember I worked with this one, interesting company, and they were showing me this product. And like, this product is amazing. It's got 80 points of margin in it. It's incredible. And I was like, it doesn't have 80 points of margin. They're like, no, it does. We figured out everything. We know what our costs are and everything. Like, this is what's going to cost us. And this is our, our wholesale price. This is going to be the retail price. And like, we're going to make 80 points of margin. And I kept saying, you're not. And they're like, you're not listening to us. Like, we're engineers and finance people. Like, we know we're a big company. We've sourced everything. We've got to, and I said, you're just not. And they said, why do you keep saying that? And I said, because no one's going to buy that product. So you're not going to realize 80 points. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, it's a bad idea. Like and I could go down the laundry list of things that made it a bad idea. Like it was a solution to a non-existent problem. They were going to spend money on marketing. They were going to spend money on all sorts of things, and it was never going to amount to anything. And of course, that guy wears a black T-shirt or funny glasses. Let's not listen to that guy. Or we already spent all this time and money developing this thing. And of course, it launched and it failed. Not because I'm a visionary. It's just because I'm a human being, and I try to focus on how other human beings function. These guys were focusing on the spreadsheet, and human beings are not spreadsheets. We're not commodities. We're unique, and we're magical. Human beings are magical.
I also, the spreadsheet thing is, when in life have you been spread too thin? Like spread is not, you want to be narrow sheet, not spreadsheet, right?
That's right. That's right.
But you're like giving me, what a surprise. You're making me feel happy because we have magic as our second value at our company. And
nice.
The idea is the feeling when you're watching something, you feel magic. It's not a trick though. It's like the magician's very prepared to make you feel something. They are prepared. We're back to that a little bit. But they can do it over and over again to create that feeling for you. And so we feel very strongly about the power of magic and what it can do. Ironically, our first value is sacrifice, and it's helping you make choices to get the most important thing is the most important thing. I think I shared this. I have a 9-year-old and an 11-year-old. And so we watch, I joke a little, we're in the dark days of Disney a little bit. Like, don't ask me what's going on in pop culture or Coachella, but I can tell you everything about, like, we've been talking about not talking about Bruno for a really long time in our house. And we just saw this movie a couple weeks ago called Stargirl. Have you heard of this movie?
No.
Okay, yeah, we have kids, so like
our kids are older, so yeah, I might have missed that one.
There was a line in the movie, and I think I shared this back in early September in an old episode, but it's so perfect for this. In Stargirl, the main character turns to sort of the second main character and says, "You're not happy because you win because you're happy."
Yes,
and I'm like, did I hear a record scratch in my head during the movie? Like. It was like if I would have woken up at 3 a.m. and I would have picked up my phone and I would have written that line down. And so here we are, again, happy to meet Craig. You got a pretty thoughtful hat that says happy, but not in your face. Well done, sir. It says happy, but only if you're ready to receive the message. It's not gaudy. That's right. It's not gaudy. You're doing some pretty cool things right now with the brand and with the mission, really. Can you kind of take us there? Like, where did this idea come from? And like, even you have a pretty cool partnership, all the things.
I love this idea of being able to turn commodities into desirables. And I think the magic, without the trick part, is design and thoughtfulness and creativity will win the day. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, did the world need a new car? It's got a whole bunch of new cars. Did the world need a new cleaning product? So I have this history with this brand called Method, which
we've had Eric founders.
Yeah, just amazing, right? So I met Adam and Eric when they were mixing product in their bathroom. And the magic, it's not that the goop wasn't great. I call every liquid goop, if it's a personal care or household cleaning product, the goop was great, but it was really about understanding people and culture and the power of design as much as it was about efficacy. Efficacy was almost, like a foregone conclusion for the
table stakes.
Yeah. So I love the idea that you can do this, whether it's with a lip balm, shaving cream, or toothpaste, and going back to what we started with before about the fear factor, and I can't do that. And, maybe I'm not a writer, or maybe I'm not whatever it might be, right? I'm not a dentist. I'm not a cleaning products person. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a lot of things. And that's okay. It gives you sometimes this lovely advantage and vantage point because you're not clouded, right? You don't have that pickle fog coming in. So anyway, I got involved with coffee because I'm married to someone who loves coffee and basically has like a cup of coffee before anything can happen. And what happened to me was, so I was thinking about coffee a while ago, like a very long time ago. And then I kind of forgot about it. And I was with a big retailer who had asked me if I would mind walking the store with them because they like to just walk the store with me sometimes. And one of the buyers that was on this little trip was the coffee buyer. And full disclosure, I was not a coffee drinker. So I came in it with, again, I think like this level of naivete that was maybe helpful or maybe dangerous. I don't know. And I basically made a bunch of comments in the coffee aisle. And this person was like, no one's ever said that to me about coffee before. Do you think you could help me visualize what you're thinking about? I'm like, sure. So I did what any, red-blooded person would do. I thought on my plane ride of goofy things around coffee that I thought could be interesting. And I love names and naming. I think because I have such a crappy name, I focused on naming other things, which is why it says Happy to be Craig as opposed to Craig Dubitsky. Like, what a crap name. I mean, I love my parents, but like, seriously? Anyway, Craig Dubitsky. So I thought about names and naming, and I've been involved with this company called Lexicon that named Swiffer, Febreze, Dasani, Pentium, MacBook, Sonos, Lucid Air, if you like EVs. I mean, Scion for Toyota, Outback for Subaru. The list is incredible. So I love names and naming because they're just a shorthand, having immediacy that takes you, again, emotionally quickly right where you may want to go or have somebody, venture towards. And I thought of this word happy for coffee. And I went away and, started playing around with ideas and visuals and went back down to visit with these retail folks. And they're like, so there's a new buyer. And I heard, I'd love to chat with you. I heard you blew my predecessor's mind. And I heard you might have some eye candy, not the term they used, but I'm like, yeah, sure. Whatever. I'm just playing around. And I showed up and I showed some pictures on my iPad that I've been playing around with. And they're like, this is great. Like, when could you ship? I'm like, what do you mean, when can I ship? I said, well, we're buyers. We buy things. We know
That's
you.
what we do.
You're an approved vendor. Like, we know you. Like, when could you make this? So I started to think about it with a little more, sort of focus. And the world is very small and magical if you avail yourself to it. And it turns out I was talking with a friend of mine. And it's like, we're involved with this other company and they're the largest vertically integrated coffee roaster in the world. I'm like, well, that's pretty convenient. What a wonderful connection that turned out to be. And one thing kept leading to another. And then just magically, so happy was this name. Since coffee makes people happy, I thought, wouldn't that be great if happy could make their coffee? And the world is, again, like just this incredible place. And I feel lucky enough to inhabit it for a brief bit. And someone I know said, hey, are you still thinking about doing something in coffee? And I'm like, yeah, you're not going to believe it. I have this, interesting idea and I'm putting these pieces together. Like, you need to meet someone. I know someone, and they're really serious about starting a coffee company. And I told them they can't do anything until they speak with you. Will you at least speak with them? And I'm like, okay. You got to say, like, I like to say I'm in the yes business, not the no business. So if it's no, it's got to be KNOW, not just NO. So let's have a chat.
Good.
And it turns out it was Robert Downey Jr. Go figure. So I got introduced to Robert Downey Jr. And by the way, for those of you who are listening,
I'm Googling him. What's his name? How do you spell that?
Yeah. And for those of you who might just be listening, I'm often confused with either him or Brad Pitt all the time. I mean, people see me all the time. And anyway, so yeah, I have a face for podcasts basically. And I get introduced to Downey and he's awesome. And I wasn't really expecting anything. I was thinking, he's a very certainly famous person. I didn't know anything about him. And I told him when I first chatted with him, I said, listen, no disrespect, but I didn't Google you, Wiki you, TMZ, or Page Six you. I wanted to hear anything you wanted to share from you. So I don't know squat. And again, no disrespect. And we ended up having this unbelievable conversation that went for over 3.5 hours. And part of it went down a musical rabbit hole because I had this really strange guitar next to my desk and he knew what the guitar was. And I was like, how do you know that guitar? He's like, dude, how old are you? It turns out, we're plus or minus 6 months apart in age. And he lived in New York as a kid. And I grew up, outside of New York. And we had a lot of musical references in common. And next thing you know, we're singing like deep cut tracks to one another. And I learned a lot about his life and I learned a lot about his wife. And I said, I want to meet your wife. And he's like, yeah, she's really great. And I was like, no. Like, I want to meet your wife. and I want you to meet my wife and my wife to meet you and your wife. And he could tell I was serious. And I said, in life, you can choose your friends, but you can't always choose your family. When you start a company, it's like being able to choose your family. So I want to meet your family and have you meet my family. And my bride, who would not have known Robert Downey Jr. if she stepped on him, was like, "Are you serious? Like, I got to get on a FaceTime with like a Hollywood movie star superhero and his wife." I was like, it'll be 10 minutes. They have red carpets to walk down. We're two suburban, normies and whatever. It'll be quick. It won't hurt. And same thing. We were on this video chat for over 2.5 hours, and it was amazing. My wife is like, "That was incredible. They're brilliant, both of them. Everyone's a good listener with each other. You're both building off of each other's ideas. You're each making each other's thing better." And no one could stop smiling and laughing. Like, why wouldn't you do this? So it became this very natural thing. And it wasn't like, "Oh, Robert Downey Jr. is going to make coffee." It was like, we're two people that care a lot and we're going to start a company together. And one day we were talking. He's like, not everybody's happy. Like, is there stuff we could do about that? And my bride is a PhD in clinical psychology. And she was like over my shoulder. I'm like, "Hey, honey, like, who's doing something amazing at scale around mental health?" And she didn't miss a beat. She's like, "Oh, NAMI." I'm like, "Who is NAMI? What's NAMI?" And she said, "Oh, National Alliance on Mental Illness." I didn't know of them. Fast forward, I got to know them. We got to know each other. It's the largest grassroots mental health organization in the country. If you have an iPhone and you summons or any Apple device, you say, "Hey, SIRI." I don't want people listening to get upset. "Hey, SIRI, I feel depressed." NAMI shows up on your phone. If you look at your health app on your phone, there's a whole section on mental health that's all powered by NAMI. They created and staff 988, which is the 911 for mental health. And we teamed up with NAMI, and the more time we spent with them and hearing of all the amazing things they do, it's really truly an incredible organization. Started by 4 women in Wisconsin decades ago who were moms who had sons with some issues and really didn't know what to do to help. Fast forward, it's this incredible group of people, and we were spending time with them, and we're like, "Well, what could we do to help you? What keeps you up at night?" And they said the number one thing we hear, because keep in mind, they had 10 million calls last year to 988, 10 million calls. They said, the number one thing we hear is, "If only I'd known about you sooner." And we said, "Oh, you have an awareness issue. Like, we could help you with that." They're like, "Well, how could you do that?" And we said, "Well, we're going to make these really beautiful looking things, these packages for this incredible product or set of products we're going to launch. What if we put NAMI on every pack and a QR code and toll-free number, and did it, in a very hopefully in a very tasteful, appropriate way, not heavy-handed, not preachy, not scary, just really even, like thoughtful and even, and not trying too hard and not being too, pushy or trying to be cute about it." And they said, "That would be amazing. Would you do that?" And we said, "Of course we do that." And not only that, we didn't want to do anything that was performative, where it's like every month, it's literally and figuratively flavor of the month, right? January is now dry January. And, every month has a theme, right?
Yeah.
Like
totally.
every month should be Pride Month. And every month should be Earth Month. And every month should be Mental Health Awareness Month. Every month. These are all, by the way, incredibly important causes. I don't mean to discount any of them by sounding, flippant or trying to be self-promoting here. They're all important, but they shouldn't be segregated to one month out of the year. They're important all the time. So we wanted to do something that was different, and not just by putting NAMI on all the packaging. We wanted to think about how we could reinvent the relationship between entrepreneurship and philanthropy. So we thought, because again, we're involved with lots of different startups, and I am in particular over the years, and a lot of things just feel a little performative. "Oh, we're going to give that entity a portion of proceeds. Oh, you know what? We're a startup. We took everybody on this trip, or everyone got a bonus." There's no profit. Sorry. So thanks for letting us, leverage all the goodwill, cause X, Y, or Z, but, there's no money for you. We just didn't want to do that. So we literally gave NAMI a piece of the company. They're an equity stakeholder in the business. They're on our cap table, which,
Amazing.
there are a lot of folks who won't know what that means to be on a cap table. I'm not referring to your listeners necessarily. I just mean in general, like, what's a cap table? It's like, oh, I'm wearing a cap. Here's my table. Like, we wanted to make sure we did something that wasn't, again, like highfalutin and fancy and out there. It's just the way we wanted to operate. So it's built in from day zero in what we're building. It's not a bolt-on concept. It's part of the DNA of what we're building.
It's pretty brilliant, and I'll tell you, I have a sock company called Sock Problems. This is like a side. Basically, what happened is I had a non-compete between last life and this life, which didn't make me very happy, but was my truth, and I was at peace with that if I could go live this version of myself. And in that time, I launched a sock company. Actually, Eric Ryan was one of the guys that's like, you should go do that for real, like early days. And the idea is that every sock's a different problem in the world. So if you want to sock cancer, if you want to sock racism, if you want to sock it, right? And we give 25% of the proceeds to every sock as a charity partner on, and we're sending proceeds back. So, but I wish I would have thought of that idea at first about just putting the companies, I don't know how you would do it, but 1% maybe on the cap table, because it then protects the company. It would have protected us on revenue early. And it was never about me and my love of socks. I want to help people support the things they already stand for and now could stand in a sock like this. So I love how easy and thoughtful that is. And if you don't mind me asking, Craig, I'm assuming, what I like, first of all, I love the name Happy because everyone gets it in a blink. 6% of my brain, I get it. I wish we were more, wish we all were more. I love how wide it is because I'm assuming there could be other verticals coming.
Yeah. We're not Happy Coffee. We're Happy. The actual name of the entity is We Are Happy. That's the actual corporate name, and we trademarked Happy now, R with a circle, which is incredible. But it's the idea is there are a lot of things that could make people happy. I don't know that we'll go too far afield because I've watched a lot of folks go too broad too fast, and you have to really stick to your knitting before you go as wild as you may want to. But yeah.
What a surprise. We're basically at an hour.
Well, I know you want to talk about a little bit this notion of innovation, which is a word that gets tossed around a lot. And I think what we try to focus on was what I'm affectionately referring to as emotional innovation.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of technical innovation, but if it doesn't get anybody to feel anything, how innovative is it really? We focused on this idea that coffee, for many, it's a ritual. Yes, it's a way to have a conversation with someone. Oh, let's go grab a coffee. Coffee has a lot of occasion and a lot that comes with it. But in terms of the actual coffee itself, like, we wanted to make the best coffee, and our coffee is amazing, like, for real. No joke. We have a Q grader on hand. It's really truly high quality coffee, and we wanted to price it so more people could afford it. But the real emotional innovation is around this notion that unlike a lot of other folks in the coffee space who will tout their origin of their coffee, or we have it's hand-picked, using gossamer wings and like esoterica, we had this idea that, well, we're going to make awesome coffee because there's no reason to make it anything less than awesome. Otherwise, you're just a clever marketer. Like, big deal. So the coffee had to be great, but the idea was people are not commodities. Coffee is a commodity. So what if we focused on people instead of the coffee? And not instead of the coffee. That's not fair, because we're very deeply involved with the coffee. But what if we focused on emotion and people and how coffee makes them feel, as opposed to telling you about the rich, luxurious, magical blend that's, and using all the trite words that we've all heard, or the color schemes that are, the clear indicators for people that this is coffee. There's a lot of brown involved, because brown is, brown and gold and, a certain color green, and that means coffee. Like, wow, does it have to be that way? All cars used to be black, right? Like, it's just Model T, man. It was one color. That was it. we live in a more complex world than that. So what if we simplified things? There's a lot of complexity in the coffee aisle because big companies just kept elbowing each other out by adding more and more bits of perceived level of esoterica that didn't necessarily make the coffee taste any better. And again, like it wasn't standing for something. So in a world that's filled with a lot of uncertainty and fear and other negative emotions, what if we focus more on people? And that's why it's called Happy. And that's why we wanted to do it the way we did it and not sacrificing or scrimping in any way on the quality of the product. It's got to be amazing. Like even the packaging, like this thing is 100% recyclable, including the label. It's a custom substrate. So you can just take this whole thing and recycle it. But what's really cool about it is you can keep it. You could reuse it. You could repurpose it. So people talk about, I hear the word sustainability a lot as well. I hear innovation a lot and I hear sustainability a lot. And I'm like, you know what? Sustainable isn't good enough. And people are like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, you want to save the planet? I'm like, yeah, I want to save the planet. What if we made things that weren't just sustainable, but that were eternal because you wanted to keep them? Like, it's just a different way of thinking about this stuff. But I think it's important. And that's where we're obsessed with that. You know, design isn't just form and silhouette and color. It's the way you carry everything that touches you. You know, it's the comport of your whole world around you. And we're in control of that stuff. So just taking that moment, that beat, and trying to be that much more thoughtful about it, from what your UPC code looks like, how you describe what the notes of the coffee are. You know, we have things like with notes of caramel and glee, you know, with notes of, you know, chocolate and elation. They're just tiny little touches that if you see them, they're great. If you don't see them, that's okay too. It might just be pretty. It might just be delicious. You might just like the word happy greeting you every morning. Like there's no wrong. So anyway, that's all emotional innovation. It's not a technical innovation.
Craig, I love how your brain works. I'd love to end with a comment and a question, if you don't mind.
I'm ready, I think.
All right. Comment wise, you kind of started the hour with a comment about like energy. And you know, I think there's three types of people in the world. There's people you gain energy from. There's people that drain your energy, and then there's the maintain energy people, which I don't think is a great place to be. If I'm like it's gain, a drain, or a maintain, and I just gained so much energy from the way you look at the world and how thoughtful you are. So
thank you.
Thank you for keep doing what you're doing. Question. So this is gonna go a week after we have something we're working on that we just launched called Courage Week, and the idea is, I just think the world needs more positivity and possibility is sort of the thought behind it. And so in the spirit of that, I'd love to ask, like, where do you feel like our community can help? Like, where do you need, you're going to drive us somewhere. I mean, it could be the website. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you how to do it for you, but like, where is there somewhere where we can better serve your work?
That is so kind. I mean, I won't give you a website. You know, I'm not here trying to push. You know, I hope everyone tries our stuff. It's delicious and thoughtful and thoughtfully sourced and all of that. It really is. But I think just listen to each other a little more, which is, again, I'm smiling because I did so much talking. But listen to each other and just be kind. You know, I'm lucky. Again, it's my wife's birthday, so she's certainly top of mind all the time. But we have 2 children, and we always tell our children, I mean, there are a lot of things we tell them, but one is put positivity out there because it's the easiest math. You put positivity out, you get positivity back. You put negativity out, what do you think comes back? And the other thing, as trite as it's going to be, is you never know what someone else is going through. No one goes through unscathed. That person you might be talking to or who's talking to you that maybe they're saying something you don't like they're carrying around some heavy duty stuff too. And, you know, whatever we've seen people in some rough situations, if there are things we can't do to help them, we always try to remind our kids, like, that was somebody's little nugget of love at some point. That was somebody's baby. Everyone is somebody's baby. So just try to be respectful of that. No one, I think intends to start out doing anything that might not be the nicest to you or someone else. So just try to be a little patient, try to be kind, lead with kindness. Certainly people first all the time. People are everything. I'm allergic to words like employee. I'm allergic to words like consumer. We're people. Just don't forget that. And that's it. And I'm just hopeful, word you used before. It's like, I'm an optimist. And I think if we can still stay positive and put more positivity out there, more positivity is going to come back. It's worked for me. So I hope more people will take that to heart. Some stranger that you're listening to on some headphones somewhere, maybe. But what I'd say is if we can be helpful, if we can be a good listener for you, if anyone ever wants to, get in touch or talk, like reach out, touch somebody, that old expression. Yeah, do it. Listen to somebody, let them vent, try to be helpful, try to be supportive, connect the dots for people. And the rest will take care of itself. You'll find that people are generally very, very kind, and more kindness begets more kindness. Easy peasy.
Here's to making a world a friendlier, healthier place, which I know is another line that's close to your heart. Appreciate you, Craig. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.